Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill, and today we are going to talk about money. Money, 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 right? I want money. Okay, I'm going to stop singing so I don't have to pay any copyright laws, but today is all about money and owning our money rather than having our money own us. So let's get into it. We have all fallen trap to the ploys or the susceptibility of what our money does for us. But here's the bottom line. Let me just give you like the big idea right up front. If money could buy happiness, we would all have it. We would all be filled with happiness. The world would be filled with happiness. But money cannot buy happiness. In fact, in a lot of ways, money creates more misery, emptiness, hollowness, all of those kinds of things. Some of the wealthiest people on the planet are the most miserable people on the planet. Why? Because money doesn't buy happiness. And what we need to do in living the cultivated life, each and every one of us, is we've got to have a mind shift on money. We've got to have a mental change and transformation about money. So what are some of those things about money? And again, all of this season 4, is talking about topics out of my book, The Life You're Meant to Lead. And this is kind of the bonus material, stuff that the editors left on the floor saying that's too much. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do a podcast show on each of these ideas to give you the bonus content. So you won't find this in the book, but there's other stuff you won't find on the podcast that's only in the book. So make sure you pick that up. The Life You're Meant to Lead, you can get on Amazon or from our website. Ourcultivatedlives.com. So back to it. Money. How can we make sure that we set up healthy boundaries in our relationship with money? And if you don't think you're in a relationship with money, you're highly mistaken. We all have a relationship with money, and we need to set healthy boundaries for that specific relationship. So one of the things I just kind of noted and marked down that we need to have as a healthy boundary is, number one, we can't look to money to buy our identity. We can't look to our money and our stuff and our status to be the thing that defines us. If you've been following our podcast for very long, first of all, thank you for that. If you're brand new, welcome to the tribe, welcome to the club. But I spent a lengthy amount of time mapping out my identity. Right when I was turning 40, I just kind of wrote out, what do I want to be? What do I want my identity to be for the next 20 years when I turn 60? Where obviously, not that there's some magic, 60 is not a magic number, but I'll be in a very different season of life, probably a grandpa at that point, and lots more gray hair. I've got a little bit, but with the lights being shiny, you can't see them if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to audio, that was just a weird moment. But here's the thing. When I mapped out my identity, I never in any of those lines wrote out stuff. Because I've come to the realization in setting these boundaries and my relationship with money that stuff cannot and will not tell me who I am. What's funny about that is that every product, every item that's out there, their marketing ploy is really, they're not trying to sell you their item, they're trying to sell you an identity. Buy this car and it'll tell the world who you are. Buy this item, buy this phone, buy this watch, buy this drink, eat at this restaurant, blah, 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 blah. Every marketing scheme on the planet is not trying to sell you an item, they're trying to sell you an identity. But guess what? We need to understand and we need to unlock and awaken to this or awaken to the truth that we can't buy our identity and stuff can never tell us who we are and who we're becoming. Why? Because stuff breaks. It's the nature of stuff. It's the nature of everything. I remember the greatest Christmas ever, 1988. I got the original NES Nintendo Entertainment System. Can I tell you how many of those I've had to replace because they break? Even if my identity is I'm a gamer, Nintendo can't tell me that. Microsoft Xbox can't tell me that. PlayStation, Sony PlayStation 4, 5, 18 can't tell me that, right? My identity is never in my stuff. As long as you're trying to buy your identity, you end up selling your soul. Now, I am not the anti-stuff guy. I'm not the anti-money person. I like nice things. And to be totally honest, I'm a 100% Apple fanboy. My whole life is outfitted by Apple stuff. I've got the Apple Watch, I've got the Apple phone, I've got the Apple computers, I've got the Apple speakers, right? I've got everything is Apple, Apple, Apple. I can't even say her name because she's going to trigger a whole bunch of things, but you know who the Apple assistant is. But Apple can't give me my identity. I can never buy my identity from Apple. And as long as I'm trying to, what I'm ended up doing is selling my soul. I laugh at some of those commercials where, particularly the beer commercials are the ones I laugh at the most, where they're saying, if you drink our beer, you'll be the stud with the abs and the hottie with the amazing body that all the other hotties want to get with or be around, right? Drink our beer. The problem is when you drink a lot of beer, you are not a hottie, and you don't have a body that you want to take your shirt off around people. So it's just funny that they're not really even trying to sell you the beer. They're trying to sell you an identity. But when we awaken to the cultivated life and the cultivated journey, we go, hey, I'm never going to buy my identity. I'm going to awaken it. I'm going to grow into it. I'm going to own it and take responsibility for it. But I can't cheapen it by buying it. And the people who are miserable are the ones who are always trying to buy their identity through name brands, through that car, through that house, through the labels on our clothing, that sort of thing. And again, I'm not opposed to nice things. I like nice things, but only in that healthy balance or relationship that says, yes, I want to buy this nice item, but this item doesn't give me who I am or tell me who I am or determine my identity. Again, as long as we're trying to buy our identity, all we end up doing is selling our soul. That's not the cultivated life. That's not the awakened journey that we're walking on and living out. The other thing that people talk about when it comes to money is this idea of financial freedom. Oh, I'm working for financial freedom. I'm grinding it out for financial freedom. And I've always struggled with that term because I was thinking, well, what is financial freedom? Because when I look at people who are really rich, yet broke or living paycheck to paycheck, is that financial freedom? So money or having a lot of it didn't give them the financial freedom that they thought. So what is financial freedom? What does that mean? And so I've just come to simplify it. And again, I'm not a financial guru. I'm not a financial expert. I don't have all the answers, but financial freedom is really when we've made the shift that I own my money doesn't own me. And once we make that shift or that transition or that transformational step in our life where it's like, I own my money doesn't own me. That's when, no matter how much is in our bank account, no matter how much is on our credit card limit, oh, I've got an unlimited account or a $50,000 credit limit or whatever the case is, that isn't the indicator of my financial freedom. The indicator is I own my money doesn't own me. I dictate where my money goes. My money doesn't dictate where I go or limit where I go. That sort of thing, because we've made that shift. We've made that decision, and that is really where we get financial freedom. And I would just encourage you that if you're not in that space, if you're not in that place mentally and emotionally or relationally with your money, there are incredible resources, tools that I would challenge you, encourage you to take. One of my favorites, Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University. You know, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Dave has some unique views on things that I don't necessarily live by or agree 100% with, but I am like 98% like, take this. It will revolutionize your relationship with money and having that true financial freedom and what that means, right? And it's really a place that most people never take the time or go through the grind or put in the effort to achieving, receiving, and walking in and through. The next thing that I really just am super passionate about, and I know you can maybe hear by my hypeness, I'm kind of a hyped guy anyways, a little amped up, and believe it or not, and I've not even had any coffee today yet. Doesn't mean I won't by the end of the day, but so far I haven't had any coffee. I'm just really pumped about this because part of the reason I'm so pumped about this is that I've had some major financial disasters in my life. And I'll be even so transparent that there was one point where our electricity was cut off. There was one point where I had to file bankruptcy. My bank account was garnished and emptied. I was like, what do you mean I don't have any money? I've been working so hard, but they tapped my bank account and took all of our money out of there. And I had a young baby at the time. time and, fairly newly married at the time, that sort of thing. And it seemed like there was no hope, but we came out of that. Not because we started making more money, but because we changed the relationship that we had with money. And we decided moving forward, we're going to own our money rather than our money owning us. Rather than our money telling us who we are, we're going to tell our money who we are, and it's going to fund what we've already determined our identity is. And so it's just a mind shift that's incredible. But this financial freedom and this mind shift should lead to a life of abundance. Now, let's keep this in context of what I'm talking about. I'm not saying an abundance of stuff. I'm not saying an abundance of things. When I mapped out my identity that I want to be for the next, 20 years, by the time I'm 60, I was very, very specific that I wanted to make my identity with my family more about experiences than stuff, because stuff is cheap. And we've fallen victim to that personally, where, Christmas was all about how many gifts you could give and how big they were and all of this stuff. And we've literally given what we thought was like the most amazing Christmas gifts to our kids that by January 1, they were done playing with them. And you're like, what? That was because we realized stuff isn't going to buy the memory. Stuff isn't going to buy the moment. Stuff isn't going to bring the abundance. The experience is what's going to bring the abundance. The experience is what's going to bring the awakening. And so we've really done a shift away from stuff, because stuff is cheap. Even if it costs a lot, it really is cheap. So how do you make that shift to an abundant mindset? Well, one of those things are when you make that shift of, I'm not working for money, I'm making my money work for me. That's an abundant shift. And you can do this with $25 a month or $15 a week or whatever the case is, where you're saying, I am now going to make my money work for me. And there's all kinds of places that you can do that. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial coach. I'm not a financial expert, but I'm just talking to you about your relationship with money rather than your strategy with money. Get with somebody, get a coach, get a mentor, get an expert, get a guru, whatever it is, so that you can figure out ways that you can make your money work for you. And I get it. I'm not quitting my job. I'm not retiring. I still have to get a paycheck. I still have to pay the bills. I still have to have income coming in, all of those kinds of things. But the shift is I'm not chasing after money. I'm making money work for me. And so there's certain things that I buy in my life, and I use that as the filter before I buy things now of like, does this make my money work for me? Does that car, I just recently had to buy a new car. Actually, I leased one because of the season of life that we're in and how things are going to be changing on the horizon. My wife and I are about to be empty nesters. And so we're like, this would make our money work best for us, because in the next season, we won't need the same kind of vehicle because it's just going to be the two of us. And so we started making decisions not about our identity, not about our image, but saying, hey, does this make money work for me? Or does this make me have to work for money to pay for that? Right? And so I am, again, all about nice things, but at the same time, keeping that balance of relationship to say, I'm not going to work for money. I'm not going to work because I'm in debt and now that's lording over me or owning me or controlling me. Rather, I'm going to make my money work for me. And so I use that as a filter before I buy anything, saying, is this an investment into my future identity? Is this an investment into the person that I'm going to become? Or does it allow me, maybe this is a necessity, maybe I have to have this, I've got to have this item to do life, whatever that is. Again, it could be, we recently had to replace our washer and dryer, a horrible purchase. And so we were really strategic about what we bought and where we bought and how long and what's the ratings on this. We really looked into it, and we didn't spend the most amount of money, that sort of thing, but we wanted to make sure it was a good one because we were like, does this make our money work for us? Of course we have to do laundry. Of course we've got to wash our clothes. Of course, we've got to do all of those kinds of things. But instead of just buying the name brand and that sort of thing and all these kinds of things, we sat down and go, okay, our relationship with money has changed. And so by making this purchase, does it make our money work for us, or does it make us have to work for money? And so it's an abundant mind shift that changes everything. And so I want you to awaken to that as well, so that you can become the person that you're meant to be. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking through. I know that money is a hard thing. It's like the number one thing that couples fight about. It's the number one things that our young students are facing when they're going into college debt, that sort of thing. And so you got to kind of weigh this with all of those. I want to encourage you again, look for those other resources and tools. They're way more in depth than I ever could be. And I don't claim to be the expert whatsoever, but I do know I'm awakening to that identity. Thanks for going on this cultivation journey with us. Be sure to check out our website, ourcultivatedlives.com, as we continue to update that with new resources and tools and all kinds of things to serve you, our audience. Also, you can check us out on our social media feeds, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, all of those kinds of things, at Tom Hamill or Our Cultivated Lives. You could check that out there. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to interact with you, and we would love for you to share this episode and our other episodes with your audience as we're multiplying those who are living and walking the cultivated journey. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.